Alright, so in Dead Rising 1, there's the game mode that it has called Infinity Mode, in which you try to survive for as long as you can. And this game mode is connected to the two infamous achievements, 5-Day Survivor and 7-Day Survivor, in which you must survive for 14 real-life hours. And it's just that whenever people talk about this achievement on YouTube or whatever, they always say you gotta go 14 hours straight on through. And well, I never really understood this because it's not like the game can't allow you to pause it or anything. Because realistically, you can do what I did the first time I got this achievement, which was make it to the 5-day point, then pause the game, then went to bed, then woke up and finished it. Although I do acknowledge by doing this that there's the possibility of somebody coming to turn off your console or it just freezing. Alright, so towards the end of Sonic and Knuckles, or Sonic 3 and Knuckles or whatever, you go up against Mecha Sonic in some old boss forms. Like, these are repeat bosses from Sonic 1, 2, and whatever else. And I always found it funny what they picked for Sonic 2's repeat boss fight, because in Sonic 3, it just plain doesn't work. Like, the original boss fight's idea was that he'll shoot little things at you that you would have to destroy, but he will be up in an area that you couldn't reach. And well, that worked in Sonic 2, but it doesn't work in this game because you have the Insta-Shield, which allows you to actually reach him and just destroy him while he's just sitting there. I don't know, they definitely should have picked something better here. Maybe stayed in theme with the first level boss and brought out the drill car. Alright, so in Fallout games, specifically in this video, New Vegas, you have many quests that you do for the many factions. And when you pick one of those factions to work for and like go all the way to the end with, you end up getting rejected by the other factions and you can't do anything for them anymore. Like, you just fail all their quests that they had left over. So then that makes me wonder, what is the most amount of quests that you can do? Like, if you were to finish this game, beat it, like, what percentage of it can you do? Because I would imagine that there would be, like, low-level quests that you could do before you, like, cut your ties with the one faction or whatever. And I would imagine the number actually being pretty high if you actually strategize this. So in San Andreas, at the beginning of the mission where you kill Jizzy, CJ's looking for his weapon that has a silencer until Caesar gives him a weapon with a silencer. And it's just that, even when I first played this mission, this makes no sense to me at all. Like, it tricks you into believing that this is going to be a stealth mission, but instead it's literally just go in through the roof, walk down, and then confront him publicly, leading to a gunfight where the silenced pistol is not even worth really using, just use the SMGs. I don't know, my only guess is that Rockstar planned this mission differently, but in the end it came out completely different from what they originally intended. So Modern Warfare 1 has 4 main villains that are named the 4 Horses of the Apocalypse, and the game is about taking them out one by one, except for the first guy, which the game, or the characters just assume is killed at some point. And then the big twists in the later games is that this first horseman was Makarov. So then that just makes me wonder, was this intentional or one of those things that they retroactively fixed? Like, did they know they were going to get a sequel and decided to keep that plot point open, or did it just line up with something and they decided to make it that way? So in 2016 we got the reboot of Doom, and this game was originally going to be worked under the title of Doom 4, but instead they just decided to call it Doom. And it's just, this is one of those situations that bug me because it's one of those, we have a new game but we're going to reuse an old title without any changes. And now you got to specify when you're talking about Doom, are you talking about the 1993 original or the 2016 reboot? Instead of them just calling it Doom 4 and making everything much easier. Although I will say that I understand why they did this. It's a reboot, and if people saw it as like a sequel to 3, they probably wouldn't have bought it, or bought as much of it, since less people would buy based off of a sequel than a reboot. Part of me wishes that Death Wish wasn't an option in GTA 5. I mean, I get why it's there. It's mainly there for people who didn't go and get all the side stuff as the certain characters can go back and do it. And I guess it's supposed to be a happy ending where everyone survives and all the enemies die. It's just that when you go from 4's lesson of not everything has a happy ending to this, it's just one hell of a tonal whiplash. But then again, that's probably more on 4 for being more serious than every other game in the series. I don't know, I guess the bottom line is they gave us options that no one would ever choose. So then why even make them options to begin with? Like with Death Wish, your actions have no real weight to them, unlike choosing Deal or Revenge. I swear that the Game Boy player for the GameCube has a delay. Now, I'm not 100% sure of this, or if it's just me, but it seems like whenever I press a button, specifically to jump, it takes a second for the system to register it. Or at least half a second. And because of that, I could end up, getting hit because it didn't register in time. And although for the most part, this isn't that big of an issue, it is when I'm playing one specific game, which is Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga. Since in that game, or I guess even other RPGs for this system, that you need to get the timing exactly correct to get the most amount of damage out, or to block, and it just ends up being really annoying to deal with. And assuming this issue is actually real and not in my head, I would imagine that it's due to the fact that I'm playing on a flat screen TV as opposed to a CRT. This is something that always bothered me in Alien Hominid. When you first enter Area 51, it shows a short cutscene of a soldier trying to hide in the sand, dig in the sand, and then getting eaten by a monster, which is the game's way of saying you cannot dig yourself into the sand in this level or the same will happen to you. But partway into this level, enemies start eventually popping out of the ground. And this is annoying because that obviously contradicts what they showed at the beginning, so at the very least you assume, okay, now I can dig in the ground and nothing bad will happen to me, but no, you dig into the ground and you still die. So yeah, this is just a little thing that I guess got overlooked by the creators, and well, it just annoys me now. In Geometry Wars Galaxies, there's this really neat feature where if you connect it to the DS version of the game, you can unlock a new galaxy to play in. And this is just really cool, but I don't own very many Wii games, and I don't know how many, had a version also come out on the DS, so my question is, are there other games that do something like this? Because if there wasn't, then that really sucks that they didn't get in on such a unique feature. In 2001's Return to Wolfenstein, the series introduced a new villain known as General Wilhelm Strauss, or better known as Death's Head. Now, he would end up surviving the events of this game and then returning to be the villain in 2009's Wolfenstein. But here, yet again, he would manage to cheat death. And because of this, he would end up returning once again in Wolfenstein: The New Order, being the main guy that helps the Germans actually end up winning the war. But this time his luck would finally run out, as this is the game where you finally get to kill him. And there's just something really cool but also annoying about the idea that not only you had to play 3 entire games to finally get him, but also the fact that fans literally waited 13 years to do so. But at the same time, that must have felt very cathartic to hardcore fans of the series to finally get him. I always found it funny, but also very annoying, that when I played online in Castle Crashers, whenever we would go up against the final boss, there was a phase that nobody understood. During this phase, the final boss would have a bubble around him, and if it was blue, you would only be able to attack him with magic, and if it was red, you would only be able to hurt him with melee attacks. And if you hit him with the wrong thing on the wrong bubble color, then you would get hurt. And it's just that anytime I would go into a random lobby and we go up against him, everyone always just tried to hit him with melee regardless of what color he was. And it would just end up killing all of us or draining our life potion and just screwing us over. And it's just, I never understood how people couldn't figure that out. I mean, that was years ago, so maybe they finally did, and this isn't an issue anymore, but I don't know. I remember back in the day buying Max Payne 3, not knowing what the series was, or who the character was, or even what was going on in the story. So then why would I buy something I had no clue what it was? One simple reason. It had a Rockstar logo on it, and in my mind I basically thought, okay, this is made by Rockstar, so that means this is going to be a good game. And I wasn't wrong. Of course, that was back then when I was naive. I know now that just because a company that I like makes a game doesn't automatically mean that it's going to be a quality game. Although in this example, Rockstar is one of the very few companies that could probably get away with that every time. So I had what you might call a red barrel moment in Sonic Spinball. This due to me not being very familiar with this game and the fact that I try to beat older games without looking up a guide. Now where this moment exactly happened was in level 3 on one of the side offshoots. More specifically, I guess the left side. And basically there's a paddle here that you need to use to get all the way up. And originally I thought that the idea was that you needed to just fling yourself all the way up and maybe get a boost by hitting one of the enemies to get yourself there. But imagine my surprise and shock when it turned out that if I held Sonic in that position with the paddle, the thing starts going up. And well, that made it much more easier, but also frustrating to me because how could I have missed that this is what you're supposed to do? I mean, there's even a hint to it with the little bumps that it shows that it goes up. I always feel like that you should watch the ending credits to a game at least once, like the first time you play it. You know, give the people who made it their due. Because, you know, a lot of people put their hard work and effort into making a game that you might find great. They deserve your recognition at least one time around. Or I guess if we're looking at it the other way, if they made a game bad, they're all the people that you feel sorry for. So Black Ops introduced a new currency to the multiplayer which was called COD Points, and you would earn it through playing normally or completing challenges, and then you would use it to buy whatever weapons you wanted or attachments or perks or whatever else. But whenever you prestiged, you would lose all your COD points. So every time I was about to prestige, I figured that I would go unlock as many title cards and emblem pictures that I could, since those stay unlocked forever. I would always try to use up as much of my money before losing it all, get my best use out of it. So in Fallout games, whenever you try to lockpick something, you do this little mini game and then you unlock it. But if you really want to try your luck or just don't want to do the mini game, then you could use the force lock option, which always gives you a percentage amount of if it's going to work or not, like 50 or 60%. And well, I just kind of gotta ask, does anyone else not use this? Because I don't use it personally, because I don't want to risk because I'm pretty sure if it fails, it locks the whatever you're trying to lockpick completely out. Like you can't go back in to do it. That, and I actually do find this minigame to be pretty fun to do, so I don't even skip it if even I have like 100% chance on force lock. So I'm probably not wrong when I say that we all hate that one mission in San Andreas where we can't go into it before we upgrade our lung capacity, right? And I mean, for as how annoying it is, I kinda get why it's there. I mean, it's there to make the mission easier so you don't end up like dying while drowning. But it's just at the same time, I feel like you could do this with the base amount of lung capacity. And I kind of wonder if somebody out there like actually modded the game in order to get this mission unlocked and just did it to see if he could do it. Because again, for as much harder it might be, I don't think it would be flat out impossible. The Genesis had a really cool feature where you were able to plug in a pair of headphones and then listen to the music through the headphones. And well, today you might make the argument that it doesn't work anymore because the only way to work it is with older pairs of headphones. But no, in reality you can get a modern day pair of headphones and plug them in and they still work. And it's just really neat to see something this old be somehow future-proofed. Duke Nukem Forever is infamous for many things that it did wrong or poorly, such as the stale gameplay or the crappy bosses, but one thing it got knocked for as well was its comedy aspect, it being full of both bad and outdated jokes, as well as it trying to be funny at the wrong times. And the joke I always go to that like gets me is the one that nobody seems to notice because it's very subtle. That being the one at the news conference and Duke running for president. Underneath it, the ticker says that the 67th president died and now the 68th one was becoming, and then that means Duke Nukem would be the 69th president. Ha 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 ha. Hilarious.
So for SpongeBob's 10th anniversary, they made a special called SpongeBob's Truth or Square, and it's often considered one of the worst episodes of the series, due to it being a fake clip show of stuff the characters are reminiscing on, but none of that actually happened in the series. But then you have the game tie-in, which actually has levels and moments from the show, like you actually go back and play classic episodes. And it's just funny to think that the game tie-in does a better job celebrating the 10 years than the actual special that it was based off of.
There's like a bit of an issue when playing arcade games at home on like a collection, that kind of being the authenticness of playing them, because most of the time you're only going to get one set of lives, and if you lose all those lives then it's game over. You can't put any more money in to continue playing, and it just kind of puts more stress on you because you can't slip in any quarters if you actually manage to lose all your lives. You really got to make your first metaphorical quarter last as long as it can, which I get people tried to do back in the day as well, it's just now you don't have a safety net. Every GTA game has cops, obviously. They will go after you whenever you commit a crime, and then it'll just keep escalating until like you have the military coming after you. But here's one thing that I've noticed that really just seems odd, in specifically GTA 5, I should say. Cops always spawn naturally alongside the regular citizens, like you could see them in traffic when no one's coming after you even. But in GTA 5, they just don't. The only time you see cops are when you have stars. Or I guess whenever you go to a police station and see them parked outside. But it's just always seemed weird to me. Why did they make them not naturally spawn in this game? It's funny to think that way back in the day when Treyarch first made Zombies, they weren't originally going to put it in the game, due to it being such an absurd mode in what's supposed to be a very serious take on World War II. But then you cut to today and see the amount of stupid shit that's been inserted into this series since then. One such example, ironically, is zombies appearing in the campaign itself. So the N64 game Blast Corps does a very weird thing if you want to like learn what the entire story is and what your objectives are and who you're playing as, which is the fact that you have to let the demo play itself out in order to have cutscenes for these to play. And well, it's just the fact that you expect all this to play after one loop of it, but it's not one loop, it's multiple. These are all played out in pieces, and you literally have to stay on the start screen for like 5+ minutes in order to get every single piece of information. And it's one thing if you're getting a lot of information and staying there for a long time, but it's a whole nother thing when it's like, why is it in multiple pieces? Why isn't it just one long thing? My only guess is that the N64 probably wasn't powerful enough to load it all at once.